is just like owning that, embracing who I am, being uniquely myself. I think there were a lot of people in my life, rightfully so, that very early on were very concerned about me getting tattoos. I fought up against a lot of that identity stuff for quite a while, and I'm the most comfortable I've ever been in my skin.
We are on location from sunny Arizona. It is 99 degrees today, and I'm super excited because I'm in Phoenix for a week, and I called up 5 of my Phoenix area friends, and I said, hey, we want to get you on the Big Fish Cares podcast. So we're on location shooting these in a variety of different places. And so today I'm at Jamie Munoz's house, and Jamie lives here in Glendale with her husband, Jacob. They're 2 special needs dogs. I think they're blind, right?
They're blind.
That's what I heard. Luna and Lily. In her spare time, she supports a local pit bull rescue and fosters dogs, gets tattooed. I'm talking a lot of tattoos. Maybe we should cut to a piece of footage of her tattoos after this because they are incredible. She loves shopping, loves planning and hosting theme parties, and loves going to Disneyland. She's super passionate about helping people identify their ideal EOS life, which I'm super passionate about that, mentoring integrators, leadership coaching, and as a certified John Maxwell team speaker and coach. Jamie has been an integrator for companies running on EOS since 2015 and has been a fractional since 2018. She's the visionary behind Catalyst Integrators, a firm established in 2021 that supports full-time integrators transition into the world of fractional work, where they support entrepreneurs to live their ideal lives and create self-managing companies. You know, I got my first start with a fractional integrator. When I read Rocket Fuel, I had to fire the guy that was my COO. You know, we called him John. That was actually his real name. And we got to Focus Day and then Vision Building Day 1 of the EOS process. It's the book Traction if you're listening, if you're a business person. And we realized John wasn't a good fit. Mm-hmm. But I was scared because John was the spreadsheet guy. He knew all the numbers. He knew where all the money was at. We had more money than ever before. And I was afraid because I was like, man, like I don't have anybody. And I was like, I'm a flaming visionary. Like my freak flag is way up high. I don't know how to do any organizational stuff, at least back then. And so that fractional integrator came in handy. But 3 years ago when I was looking for one on LinkedIn, there was only 3 that popped up. Like no one claimed to be an integrator. It was still like kind of a new term. Can you talk a little bit about this integrator term?
So in the EOS model, right, you identify as visionary, right? You're sitting in a seat on the accountability chart where in most cases you're the founder, right? So you're the founder of the company, you have all the vision. The integrator is that second in command, that puzzle piece fit that helps bring your vision to life. So in the EOS model, there's also something called an implementer. So
they get confused a lot, those 2 terms.
They sure do.
You know why? Because visionaries' brains are going so fast. They just see these big, long words that start with I, and they just say they think they're interchangeable.
Yeah, you're 100% accurate. And so I make sure and set that record straight quite often because it's different. There's 2 different seats there, and we want to respect both roles for what they are. So, you know, as integrators, that means that we're running our companies on EOS. The reason, like you mentioned, a fractional probably fit is because in that COO seat, if you're also not the head of other departments, then fractional works, right? Like if they're truly only in that integrator seat, in most organizations, it's not a full-time role. Yeah,
they're not doing they're not doing like the actual like sales. They're not actually doing the marketing. They're not producing the work. They're not even in the accounting department. Right. They're literally just helping those 5 department heads make sure they flow together, right? And solving problems, making sure they get their rocks done.
Yeah.
Rocks. What are rocks?
What are rocks?
I feel like somebody always told me I had rocks in my head. I don't know what that means, but
maybe, yeah, you probably did, and those were all of your ideas that needed to come to life.
Yeah, that's the pleasant way of saying it.
With an integrator, yes, those are the rocks that you had in your head. Yeah.
So how did you get into this integrator like work? Because I mean, for me, like a visionary, like integrator stuff's kind of boring, kind of like mundane. It's kind of like, oh, they're the bad guy, you know. But
the
also
dream crusher.
Yes. The idea smasher.
Fun killer.
Yeah. They put the FU in fun, you know what I'm saying?
Well, we like to say that we're your new favorite F word as fractional integrators. So as F words go, you know, we're the new favorite.
So we just got back from the EOS conference, and I just heard that fractional is not actually EOS pure.
Oh.
And, you know, the EOS pure thing. It's like a funny thing. I think I laugh at that.
Yeah.
But so did you know that?
Well, because you're an integrator. So like fractional is like definitive of like the time amount that we're in a company because we're not full time. So it's fractional. Same thing as like right now, I'm in my head of finance seat in my company. So I'm technically fractional in that seat as well. Like if you go into that world. But yeah, you're right. And what they're saying is that if you're an integrator, like you are an integrator and you own that seat fully.
Well, how could you be, you know, because I think, you know, they say visionaries are responsible for the culture, but at the end of the day, the integrators run the day to day. And if the integrator isn't leading that culture, like the culture's not going to work. And so you must have people that have like split personalities to be able to fit in with all these different core values, all these different companies. And so like, how does a true fractional integrator shift and be like, oh, I'm at Disney World one day and I'm at, you know, Tesla the next day and I'm at, you know, chucking a truck the other day? Like, how do they pivot and how do they actually drive that culture?
I love that question. So in a lot of cases when we're coming into a company, they may have the core values and they're not even very clear. They're not even clearly defined in terms of how they're actually living them. They might be aspirational, like, oh, we fun is one of our core values, but you talk to the team and they're like, yeah, no, we don't have fun here. Like, that's not a thing for us. So part of the work we need to do is really understand, like, what is the current culture? How can we support that? And in most cases, like when we're working with companies running on EOS, you know, people don't have negative core values that are like mean or like fucked up things. You know, like it's not like, oh, we value treating people like shit. Oh, we don't align with that. Can't work here. You know, in most cases, there's some guiding principles that, you know, we can easily align with and make sure that we fit in with. And that is important, you know, to live their core values while we're in that organization.
Is there anything else you want to say about integrator stuff? Because, you know, on my podcast, we don't actually talk about business. That was just kind of a trick to get you. We're going to go a little bit deeper.
We're going to go deeper.
I just wanted to see if there's anything else you want to talk about as far as the integrator stuff goes.
Well, you asked about my integrator journey.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So pulling that back on track.
Yeah, get me back on track, integrator.
So I always was able to talk to a visionary, understand their vision, like know where they want to go, and be able to like calculate in my brain all the steps in between to get there. Like that for me has always been like an easy way to kind of plug in. And I think because I have enough visionary in me, I can speak visionary enough to where I'm not killing dreams. I'm able to listen. I'm able to take action and move things forward. And that's always helped me. So in my first full-time job where I found EOS, my visionary and I had been working together for about 4 years. I helped build and grow the company to a size. We hit a ceiling and he handed me traction and was like, figure it out. So I went to Google and hired an EOS implementer, and we implemented EOS over the next 4 years. And really that took us to the next level.
If you guys want more information on EOS, I have 2 episodes with my EOS implementer back in the early days of the podcast. Just look for Ken Koistra. There's one on vision. There's one on people. We never finished filming the other 4 parts of the pie chart just because we started. Big Fish Cares podcast had like its own little journey where we talked a little bit about business in the early days, but then I was like, that's kind of boring.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the good stuff.
Yeah. What do you prefer to talk about?
Well, the journey, like the life journey, like the you part, you know. I think the business is like just a result of kind of like where your journey went, but. You talked about that early job when you helped that visionary grow his company. I know in the show notes when you sent me an email, you told me your dad was a used car salesman. I used to sell cars. And then I've seen lots of cool car sales movies. And so when you tell me about used car dealership, you know, that's got to be interesting growing up as a kid on a car lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Give me like 1 or 2 fun stories about that.
Kid on a car lot, for sure. I remember going to work with my dad, you know, the days where I could like get up and get my little briefcase and like go to work with dad. And, you know, while he's out there, you know, on the lot selling or talking to somebody about a car, I'm sitting there at his desk, like playing business owner, you know, like making my little like notes on my notepad and stamping it and making it all cute. And I think that was kind of the most memorable stuff for me, was like being able to go and just seeing my dad. He kind of juggled a lot, right? Like he only had like a lot man who kind of did, all of the stuff on the cars. He had a secretary who took payments and things like that, but really he was everything.
He was in all the seats.
He was in all the seats. And I mean, to this day, even, gosh, he's been in the car business over 30 years. Like he is still in all of the seats, right? And he's worked 6 days a week and only had Sundays off like my entire life. So it's been a grind for him.
What was it like when the internet came out and your dad could like start flipping cars online? Like, what did he conform to that, or did he fight it real hard?
He did. I think it was stepping into that new unknown territory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, bless my dad's heart. Like, I still get, like, he takes screenshots of his computer with memes with his phone to send to me. Like there's still a technology gap there a little bit, I think, or resistance.
Yeah.
But when he could start doing things on like, what was it, Auto Trader, and then like he now can
eBay,
like
eBay,
cars
on eBay,
and he can buy and
Kelly
sell
Blue
cars.
Book.
Yeah, KBB and doing that. So I remember we would go, when we went to work in the morning, it was like we went to literal car lots. We went to dealerships and looked at all of their cars and tested them out, and I'd get in and I'd start the car and he'd have the hood open and he'd be testing them out to see which ones he wanted to go in and buy. And so, just seeing the evolution of that business. And then also the pain a few years ago when all of a sudden, like, it was like you couldn't find cars. Remember, lots were empty. And
well, you could. You just got to pay $5,000 more than what they should have been worth.
Yeah.
Which
really
is probably
hard.
good for the car guys, kind of. I guess they made more money per deal, but less deal. So it probably ended up being a wash.
Less, yeah.
Yeah, I have
less
no idea.
deals.
Looking back on your childhood and your upbringing, are there any other experiences or moments that like shaped your kind of understanding, like that made you like who you are today?
Only one? Do you want?
No, you can have a couple. Just give me some of the big moments.
Let's see. I was a bad kid. I was
What's
really
bad? Define bad. Like bad. So that's like Jorge says he was a bad kid, and I don't think he did anything wrong before. So
okay.
Jorge's my videographer on location right now in Arizona.
When as early as I think I was 12, so I was in 6th grade. We grew up, I would say, very wealthy. We lived in a very nice part of Scottsdale, Paradise Valley here. I had everything I wanted. I wore Abercrombie.
Abercrombie and Fitch.
That was the thing. And had money in my wallet, but still for some reason it was the fun thing for me and my friends to go shoplifting at the mall. So that was what I would say is bad. Do you agree that that's bad? I think that's
bad.
Pretty bad.
Yeah, you should probably not steal things.
Yeah, no.
That's at least one of the 10 commandments. It makes it pretty clear, thou shalt not steal.
It was pretty bad.
Don't kill people and don't steal.
Yeah. So
have you ever killed anybody?
No, definitely not. I haven't done that one.
Yeah.
What
was the biggest thing that you ever stole?
Well, so it was literally like we did one big stealing shopping spree.
Explain how that goes down. I was always afraid to commit crimes when I was a kid. I did all my crimes in my late 20s.
Yeah, no, I was just completely with my friends, not that I'm going to be the victim or blame them, but I'm going along with my friend group and, that's what we were doing. And again, I'm pretty sure their families were even more wealthier than mine. And we all had enough money to pay for our things in our wallets.
There was no reason but that's boring.
To pay for things, not to pay for things. So we went on this little shopping spree and literally idiots had just a giant bag and we're just adding things to it and onto the next store, nail
clothes?
Polish and makeup and candles and, things that teen girls wanted apparently.
Yeah. And this was all at the mall?
At the mall. And we got arrested.
Oh, how did that go down?
So that ended. Well, I figured out that when you're in Claire's, that little store,
little cheap jewelry store.
The fact that whole store is mirrors is because they're fucking cameras. They're watching you, everything you're doing. And so we were putting stuff in our little bag and idiots and shouldn't have been doing that. And we start walking out of the store and police officers walked up. So we got arrested. I had to go to a bunch of classes and my parents had to pay a bunch of restitution. I couldn't go into a Dillard's in the country until I turned 18 because that was one of our stores that we were shoplifting from.
Wow.
I couldn't go back to Paradise Valley Mall.
So what'd your mom and dad do?
They were pissed.
Yeah, I know they were pissed. But what actually happened to you?
So I think that really kicked off where like I started getting like restricted, like I was grounded. At the time I was showing equestrian Arabians. So I was riding horses, and that was immediately taken away from me. So like everything that I did or got to do that was like extracurricular or like things that were not just school were taken away. Like that was my punishment. So then I went down more into like, okay, well, what can I do? What am I allowed to do? And it was like, when I could hang out with my friends, you know, like now we're all resentful against our parents because they took all of our shit away.
Yeah.
Right. So it kind of perpetuates the cycle of, and I'm not trying to blame them by any means, but you know,
we're just reflecting back. Like, I just want to know, like,
why.
yeah, like what was going on in your head then versus, and I know you've kind of been on a journey and even a spiritual journey since then to kind of unpack like who you are, why did you do the things that you did, like what caused it, right? You know,
Yeah.
But it's not very often I get to interview rich kids. So this is kind of cool because most of the time people I'm interviewing, like we didn't have anything or we were poor and like, you know, we're just trying to make it because, you know, like we heard our parents complain about money and like, so like we wanted money, like we were trying to get money. Like money didn't mean anything to you because you already had it, right? And so like it was just like, What do you think caused you to like want to do that? Was it your friends and being were you the leader of that or were you like the pack follower?
Follower for sure.
So you want to be accepted by your friends?
Yes.
Interesting. Where do you think that came from?
I think I got bullied a lot when it came to different things, and I was always trying to like fit in. I remember once, oh my gosh, I don't even know if I've ever told anybody this, maybe my husband. I was at a sleepover when I was in maybe like 4th, 5th, 6th grade. And I remember like all the girls, like we all went out and they basically like, we all went for a walk and they like ditched me. Like I got like left alone, like out by myself. And then I came back and okay, everyone was watching a movie. And then I remember in the morning we all woke up and they were making breakfast and stuff. And like they give me my breakfast. They're like, oh, we made you French toast or whatever. And I'm eating it. And they're like, haha, like we dumped a whole thing of salt in there, you know, like just like that kind of little things where I'm like, I would always try to be like fun, easygoing, giving, gifting, you know, there for anybody whenever they needed me. But a lot of times, like, especially through high school and middle school, like I got treated like shit by all my friends.
Yeah.
And I always just was looking for that. Like I wanted like to fit in.
Where do you think that came from? Have you came up with like where that came from? I think went deep on that.
I don't know, to be honest.
I have theories.
What's your theory? Analyze me.
Well, no, it's not analyzing you. It's just I've talked to so many people, and I believe that, and I feel like I'm kind of similar to you. I feel like where it was like I was looking for love in all the wrong places because maybe I wasn't getting enough love at home. And I'm not blaming my mom or dad. They were busy working and like, you know, trying to survive. You know, it sounds like I don't know, what'd your mom do? Did your mom have a job?
She was stay-at-home mom. So yeah, she did everything for us. Troop leader and
really?
room leader and all of
and
that
like loved
stuff.
you and like how like just all that and like you still needed more. Like you still needed more.
Yeah.
There's something in you that
I don't think I didn't love myself.
Are you a driven? When you read it, because I know you met Dr. Doug.
Yeah, I met Dr. Doug.
From the author of Driven. And I know that you're the visionary of your company, but I don't know if that was because, I don't know if that's like on purpose or if that's just kind of like what happened. And I know you play on both sides of the fence. You know, we would call you like a tweener. Like that's got to be like that's got to be like the worst, right? Like at least from a guy like me, that's like, oh, you don't like you got to play both. Like that's got to be very. That takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
To play both visionary and integrator.
Yeah. It's been a journey for me to like untangle the two a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and that's why like I'm trying to understand like why did you, because like for me I needed so much, like I wanted the approval of others.
Yes.
So bad because like, you know, maybe I didn't get told I did a good enough job at home, you know, because I would get in trouble a lot as a kid, you know, ADHD and, you know, the teachers didn't understand me and, you know, it's just, I had sisters and it was just hard to get attention. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you're fighting for like just a little bit and, you know, you want people to hear you and you want people to like accept you. Right. And it's like when no one does, it's like tough, or if not enough people do. Right. Like, you know, it's like you want more, right? It's like you want more of that. And so, yeah, I'm just trying to understand where all that comes from. Cause I feel like we're all wired a little differently. We all have different environments that we grow up in. I know that we first met at this place called the Summit. I'm totally like bouncing now to the present, which is probably interesting, but that's all right. That's fun. People are used to it on my podcast. So.
Yeah.
I've had some comments in the YouTube. I wish he could just stay on track because I'm not following where he's at. But the way that I met Jamie was at a mastermind peer group for visionaries. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't think they let integrators in. So, like, you know, it was interesting.
I had to identify as
Well,
visionary.
then I thought, like, you were just, but then I thought you were just there, like, on a reconnaissance mission to help all these visionaries. And I was like, oh, she's just there as, like, a partner in the background to, like, support all the visionaries. But then I realized, no, you are a visionary. But then you get this integrator thing, and so all the visionaries are going to ask you about it because it's like the shiny object in the room. Mm. Not only your tattoos, but your amazing personality, and you're like an integrator. So like we want integrators in our life. We need them, right? Like we need.
I feel like I'm like the whisperer that can
Yes.
communicate between the two.
I like that. The CEO whisperer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cameron Harold. Do you know who Cameron Harold is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Vivid
yeah,
Vision.
He lives over here. I think he's
in Arizona.
I think he moved. I think he's originally in Vancouver area. I think he's got a home here, but now he's like Dubai guy. So like he's like very living abroad and like very.
Oh, okay.
Very. But yeah, he talks. I think they call him the CEO whisperer as well.
Oh.
But anyway, so we met at the Visionary Summit, and we got to know each other there. And I heard from somebody else that you went on a spiritual journey the year before because of the people at the summit. Talk to me about that and tell me how that came about, and talk to me about maybe your whole life growing up, like what your faith was like, what you believed in, maybe some of the ups and downs of that.
Okay. So that was my third summit that I met you at. That was the third one I've been to. So I've gone for the past year. Christy Clayton, who is the visionary of the Integrator Mastermind, was doing some work with Bob at the time. She was like, hey, I know you're on your visionary journey of embracing that a little bit, so I think you might enjoy this. So that's kind of how I landed there. So to go all the way back, I would say growing up, we grew up Catholic. So growing up Catholic, you know, going to Mass on Sundays and things like that.
Did you go every Sunday?
We had
or were you
to
like
go,
an Easter bunny and a Christmas like baby?
Eventually we merged more into that, but we kind of did go a lot. My mom went to Catholic school, so it was kind of more like that's what she really wanted for us.
Gotcha.
And so we did a lot of the Sunday school stuff. I always liked the idea of believing in a higher power and something else, but I started feeling like it puts you into a box sometimes a little too much of like right, wrong, good, bad, this and that. And that's where I started feeling like, well, again, if I've done these bad things, like I must not be like worthy of that. Like this must not be for me. Right. And I didn't, again, as a teenager, really continue to lead in to that. And so it's been, you know, I would say again, we go to church for holidays and stuff, or for weddings, or for baptisms, funerals, whatever. Like, you know, I'll say a prayer here.
You're like 50-50. You're
like
I'm right in the middle. You're not like anti, there, but like you're not all the way in.
But I never, as an adult, like kind of understood the relationship or the journey or where I was at. And I was at my first summit in Ohio a year ago in February, March. That was 2023. And a few of the people there were very Christian, spiritual, and I was sitting there during
Jesus
a session.
Lovers.
Yeah. And I was sitting there in a session, and one of the guys afterwards got up and walked straight over to me and like just put his hands on me and was like, I see you. And like gave me a hug, and I just like ugly cry, meltdown, you know, like, oh my God. And he starts talking to me, and then other people, and as we start having these conversations around spirituality, and they're helping talk to me. My dear friend Chaz was one of them. Richard was the person who came and gave me a hug. In talking to them and opening the conversation, them teaching me about like how to pray, right? My integrator side comes out. I'm like, there's got to be a right way to do it. You know, there's a process for praying. I got to do it right. And I had a moment where one of the speakers was talking about your inner light and like channeling your inner energy. Dr. Stephen Young, he's talking all about this energy work and like envisioning that you've got this light inside of you. And it's not like a flashlight, it's a light bulb. So it's shining in every different direction at once. And you have the power to change your vibe and energy. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been doing for quite a while. Like, I believe in vibe. I believe in that kind of stuff. I believe in that being a thing. And so combined with the understanding of Holy Spirit, it was like aha for me. And I was having so much negative self-talk and negative voices and all these things that, like, one of the mornings in my hotel room, I literally had a different male voice come in and, like, tell me that it was going to be okay and, like, ask my other shitty voice to, like, fucking leave. And I was, well, God didn't say that, but I did. And that was a pivotal moment for me. I, like, die hard was like, I believe in all of this now. I pray every day. I stepped into more of the faith with my husband, and, like, now we can have open conversations about it. I think I was a little, not to say, like, afraid, but I always saw the people that were really talking about, like, praise Jesus and stuff like that as a little, not like culty, but, like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, there's not a place for that right now.
You didn't understand it.
You know, I didn't understand it, and I never wanted to push it on anyone else. You know, I never would want anyone to feel like, if I'm standing here openly talking about God, I don't want anyone in here to be uncomfortable at me saying that. So I would use generic things like universe and that kind of stuff. But I'm getting a lot more comfortable with it now and understanding my faith and having a practice around it, and just kind of knowing, you know, I'm still having a hard time when, like, I see really shitty or bad things happening, like, to people or animals, that, like, I'm struggling with that piece still a little bit.
Like what? Give me an example of, like how to respond, how to feel about it.
How to feel about it, because I'm kind of like, I believe that everything happens for a reason, but, like, when really sad or bad things happen, like, that still sucks, you know, like.
It sucks temporarily. This is what I believe. So it does suck in the moment and temporarily for exactly, like, what it is, because you're kind of looking at it kind of like this bottle of Topo Chico. Like, it sucks. You're looking at all the nutritional facts, right? This sucks. You're not seeing the front cute label that, like, all the good, you know what I mean? Because you're only seeing from one side. And so what I've learned is that you have to kind of embrace the pain and kind of get and separate yourself away from it for temporarily, so that way you can see a good side somehow, some way. And once you have enough experience with this, I believe that you're able to then manifest, whatever the word is, and say, like, all right, well, if this happened for this reason, maybe this will happen and this will happen, and actually it won't be in vain. It's actually for a bigger purpose.
It's like finding the gift.
Yes, exactly. It's finding the gift, right? And so, and then as you see those things happen in your own life, like, I'm sure, give me an example. I'm sure you have an example of something that you thought at the time sucked, like, was really bad, but somehow you saw the blessing in it. Maybe even years later. It could be 10 years later.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that came to mind?
Well, I have, like, a very surface level one that happened the other day, and then I have a big one that happened within the last 9 months.
Let's do the big one.
Okay, I'm sure you would like to do that for sure.
Well, I mean, like, you know. Might as well just get right into it.
So I think that, you know, in the past, we'll say since September, so that's like what, 5-6 months?
Yeah.
5-6 months. I've gone on this journey of this inner work that we were talking about earlier a little bit together too, is that I think I needed to get smacked upside the head, and I think the right things needed to fall into place with something super shitty and very jarring happening. I had a few key team members, basically my entire leadership team, leave in Q4.
Same day?
One per month pretty much. So
Did they do it together, or did they do it separately? It was like a domino effect.
Jury's out.
Oh. Stay tuned for episode 2 a year from now.
Once I felt like I was trying to heal from one, like it was like another gut punch, another gut punch, another gut punch. And I had been blessed with finding an incredible coach, and she introduced me to positive intelligence.
Can we tell everybody who their positive coach is in case somebody else wants to hire her?
Jen Karofsky.
All right, cool.
Has
Shout out to Jen.
Literally saved my life, Jen. Thank you for everything. And I didn't know we were going to do positive intelligence when I started with her, but we kind of rolled it in. And Positive Intelligence is a book by Dr. Shirzad Charmaine, I think is his name. And it basically helps you create more mental toughness, with some of like the negative saboteur voices that are in your head. Like I have a lot of judge. I judge myself. I judge others.
It's like Judy, like Judge Judy in there.
Exactly.
Like raging.
Yeah.
Like raging.
So it's funny
You
because
should name your inner voice, by the
I
way.
did.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you watch Schitt's Creek?
No.
Oh my God, this is going to fall deaf on you. Jorge, do you watch Schitt's Creek? Okay, he says yes, so he'll know.
Jorge.
Okay, so one of my voices, I call, ew, David. He's laughing.
It's a good show.
Okay, so now, and Alexis is his sister, and she always is like, ew, David, and she's always like very critical of like how her brother is acting, and that's like, she's always like kind of judging. So that's my one voice. So I can be like, ew, David, and I can like, try to tell it to leave. But anyway, so positive intelligence changed my life. Leading into my annual retreat, we do an annual Catalyst team retreat every year.
When do you do those?
It's been the first week of December
Okay.
every year. I think this year might be September based on where we're going.
Was this after 3 of them left? It came
Yeah.
up, so they were already gone.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
And
like,
you were feeling like that, like
phasing
you were just
out-
getting punched. It was like Mike Tyson, just bam, bam, bam.
Right. Bam, bam, bam. I'm like, now I'm in this mindset of like, I'm the victim. Everyone's leaving. No one's happy here. Like, I've listened to a lot of very influential friends and people who say like, okay, people don't leave the company, they leave you. So I'm like internalizing all this, like, what did I do wrong? And realizing that like people are on their own journeys, right? Like I'm blessed to be a piece of the journey, and that's totally awesome, and everything happens for a reason, right? And the growth through all of this. So I feel like while I was going through all of this sadness and trauma and all of this stuff happening that I'm unpacking, that the right things started falling into place. And now I look back and I'm like, man, like, thank you. Thank you for all of that. Thank you for that awareness. Thank you for my coach that came in that knew I needed positive intelligence, that Jacob did, my husband did positive intelligence too. I brought it to my entire company, so everyone is doing it. They're teaching their kids positive intelligence and the power of like saying nice things to yourself, because we're very mean to ourselves. Like I guarantee you, some of the things that like I sit and say to myself, I would never say to you. Like I would never out loud say.
You would never say that about yourself to me?
Well,
Or you would never
I
say
would
that
never
to
say
me?
it to you.
About
Like if
myself?
if I'm sitting here like, man, like you're such an idiot, like you're such a piece of shit. Like why didn't you think of like getting, gosh, Benny would have wanted Perrier, not Topo Chico. Like, God, you're so inconsiderate. I would never sit here and if you did be like, Benny, you're so inconsiderate. Why would you
Yeah.
not get me a Perrier? And so, like, you wouldn't say those things to someone else.
Gotcha.
Right. So anyways, this work's been transformational for us. I brought in a coach that talked to us all at our annual. So I curated this whole team annual retreat around like our theme, which is Nourish to Flourish. And our theme this year of Nourish to Flourish is how are we day in, day out nourishing ourselves, our mind, our body, our spirit, everything to carry through life with more ease. And that work for myself, for my family, for my friends, for my team, seeing the change and the difference, that to me is how I'm showing up as a visionary. That's what me looking ahead and saying, man, like life is not going to get easier. We all survived COVID, but
Well, some of us.
yeah. I lost my best friend during COVID.
Really?
Yeah. She
Wow.
was 34.
Due to COVID? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. It was, we did retreats together. We would go coach women on how to like create like life plans for their families and like execute goals, kind of like an EOS Life, kind of like VTO kind of thing, but for your personal self. And her and I would coach these retreats together and just had a blast. And she transitioned from full time in her career to doing her art for a living. Like a lot of artists struggle to make a living doing their art and what they love. And we figured that out and did that for her. And that was incredible to see. She was thriving. She was in these communities. She was making a difference. She was on the news here. She's done several murals around the valley. And got COVID, and within a month, her lungs fully collapsed and she passed away. She left behind her 8-year-old daughter. And it was really sad.
And so we had to move the camera at the most inconvenient time in the whole podcast. But we made it work. We pivoted. We took a some type of cover over a pergola. We got a fan blowing on the camera right now. And Jamie had just got done telling me about our friend that passed away during COVID. And I was getting ready to, and I had a great little line. And I'm going to try to redo it. But it was like, when something happens that's tragic like that, how can you find the purpose in it? How can you find the gift or like the goodness? And sometimes it takes a lot of people a long time, depending on the tragedy. The more impactful and the more acute it is, it's usually the longer that it takes. But what I've learned is if you can practice more gratitude and you can lean into experiences that you've had in the past, see where those things have changed. And so like if you go back like 10 different experiences in your life, look at all the painful moments, look back and say, all right, well, it made me like this, it did this, I did this, and these were all the good that came out of it. Then you can start shifting your mindset when something happens in the moment, right? Like that friend passes away, she's got the 8-year-old daughter. It's super sad, super tragic. And you're able to then kind of manifest like something good, like, hey, it's going to put more giddy up in your step to make an impact, right? Like right away. Yeah. The community, the art community probably stepped in, and there's more people that are probably passionate about art because of it, right? Mm-hmm. The amount of impact on those lives because of your friend's story is going to be the gift that can keep on giving, right? And then even like, I think to like her daughter's going to grow up, without a mom, which is like really hard, right? But it's going to give her some more grit and determination to even be stronger, and probably she's going to be super successful, and she's going to be, she could be like changed forever. She's changed forever, but if she ever comes to that point in her life where she can like start looking at pain as a gift, and big impacts can happen, right? And she'll be able to share that story. And so that was kind of like a little bit of what my talk was about at EOS, turning your pain into presence. And that's a really great example. What do you think is going to be the takeaway from the 3 people leaving you? I know you're still kind of in the middle of it. It's only been like 6 months. I'm sure you're starting to already see blessings and gifts. But like, what do you think the end of the story looks like?
Well,
visionary.
I think that kind of snapshot of where I am right now, all of the gifts in there were God was setting me up to do, I think, bigger and more challenging work, right? Like, I think I needed to go through all of that hard stuff to like strengthen to be able to do harder things in the future. And it's been very inspiring and motivating for me to continue, because at first I was like, I'm going to quit. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't handle it. And I wasn't seeing things as the gift. The last 6 months have brought me my full-time integrator, Alex, who's absolutely incredible. Her and I feel like I'm a better leader. I'm a better visionary for the inner work that I've been doing to be able to show up and be there for her. And I think that's what gets missed sometimes as visionaries, is like, we are that like pillar, and we do need to be that support for our integrators, for our leadership teams, and kind of show them and model, right? We're servant leaders in that way. And yeah, we can be like a bit wacky and out there, and we have some things that are like, okay, well, our tendencies tend to be more this or this or that, right? And I don't ever feel like I ever really fit in that box, and that's why I never labeled myself as an entrepreneur, even though if I look back, I'm like, well, I owned a boutique for 13 years as my side hustle while I worked full time. There were some voices and some things happening to me that like, I was never good enough, or I was never in that right box to be a visionary or to be an entrepreneur. So I couldn't outwardly like say that and own that with pride and not ego. So I think that's where I am today, is just like owning that, embracing who I am, being uniquely myself. I think there were a lot of people in my life, rightfully so, that very early on were very concerned about me getting tattoos. Are you going to find a job? Who's going to hire you? How are you going to be sitting in any type of a boardroom one day and be listened to because you have tattoos? I also had pink hair for a long time. I had purple hair. So I think being a female, typically being the youngest person in the room, having tattoos, I fought up against a lot of that identity stuff for quite a while. And I'm the most comfortable I've ever been in my skin at this point in my life. And I just love where I'm at and the journey I'm on to continue to pour into my team and inspire them to also do the inner work do that harder stuff, want to live a life in more ease, and then inspire others. I mean, as integrators, we have that ability to inspire others and actually like accountably like lead through the change, and it not be a flash in the pan like a New Year's resolution is. This is ongoing stuff.
2 things came up for me, and I'm going to try to say them now so that way I can remember them, because my ADHD is fleeting. So
Say it.
So the first thing is like, I think I know. I want to give you a little bit of vision on those 3 people that left and maybe why they left, and then I also want to talk about the tattoos, the pink hair.
Got it.
Which one should I start with? The 3 people.
The first one.
The 3 people that left.
Let's go in order.
So, what I've seen in my own life is that people exit out of my life. God either has them exit out on their own and filter them out, or I have to finally make the decision to filter them out based on like my own core values and like enough's being enough, right? And like realize that as I start to learn who I am a little bit more and start to embrace that and start to see like where I really want to go and who do I want to become, like some of the people that were on that journey aren't going to really fit into that puzzle. And I think those 3 people just self-selected out and did you actually a favor, because, based on everything I know, you probably would have had a tough time even letting them go once you figured that out on your own.
Right.
Because, they helped you get there. And so, yeah, they actually did you a favor. I love it when people quit. Like, when people quit, it's so much better than when I have to fire them. So much better. Because it's like the God's way or the universe's way of, like, natural selection.
Yeah.
And so, like, and they actually saw you changing probably, right? Because it was during that season of your life where, you found God and you were like you were changing. Your light was shining more. And if they have darkness up, they can't see that light. So they got to run from that because it's uncomfortable. And so that's what I love so much about this inner work stuff, And,
Yeah.
and have you read the book Shine yet that Gino's been talking about?
I like made it through the introduction.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I listened to the audiobook. It's really good. But all right, back to the pink hair and the tattoos. Because you said a couple other things earlier. Who was the man at the summit that said, "I see you"? Was that Doug?
Richard.
Oh, Richard.
That was Richard Shaw.
Richard Shaw. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
And also, when you told me the story about you hanging out with the girls and wanting to like, kind of follow them and do what they're doing and wanting to be like seen by them, right? And stand out. What if I told you what I'm feeling is like for whatever reason you didn't feel seen enough, somewhere somehow there was a void there, right? And because of that, you wanted to get seen with the pink hair, the tattoos, subliminally, like you obviously wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm getting a tattoo because I want to be seen. No, it felt good because like it's different. You want to be unique, right? Like you want to even be more unique. Like you were already unique without the tattoos and the pink hair. We all are, but you had to like prove it to everyone, right? And so now it's funny because like now you can like own it even better, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that I can see in people when I talk to them, when it's very distinct, right? It's hard to tell the ones that are like in the 50-50 in the mellow range because like you just can't really get a read on them. But the ones that really stick out, like you can tell that something happened just as bad is that their light shines good, right? And so like if the light, the brighter that they shine, I feel like the darker place that they had come from. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I really believe it's a complete inverse.
Yeah.
And so those people like on the
you
middle,
have to like you overcompensate, so it takes you in that direction.
but then your light can shine brighter, but your darkness can also be darker.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the judge in your head, like she can be like just downright nasty.
Yeah.
But then the light that you are and the gift that you are to the world is so beautiful. And so I can see that in people now. And so that's why I love this podcast, because I'm so curious of like the dark side, because it's like, all right, because I know there's other people out there that are listening right now, they have a dark side. Most people are afraid to share it. They're afraid to like tell anybody because they're afraid they're going to be judged, right? Because they're judging themselves. So if they're judging themselves, like imagine what their mom and dad are judging, their sisters and brothers, their friends, their family, their leadership team, their employees, their customers.
Yeah.
And so that's why, we live in a society where we just bottle everything up and like, it starts getting weird. So
Yeah. One thing I realized was no one thinks about you as much as you think they do.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? Like,
oh yeah.
And this ties in number 1 and number 2, the 2 topics we're on now, is that my constant worry about what other people think, right? And I think that goes all the way to the root for me, is like, it was always like, what does somebody else think of me? Are they going to like that? Appreciate that? You know, do they like that about me? It's like always constantly people pleasing, which can also turn into a type of control, right? Like, so am I indirectly trying to control situations, outcomes, experiences, emotions of others because I'm trying to create that narrative and like control what you think of me at any given time. And then that can be extremely draining.
Do you know why?
Because I'm constantly like worried about like, you know, even again, like you came, and I'm controlling a lot of this with positive intelligence now, but even me knowing that you were coming over to my house for the past month, the amount of like stress I've had of like, oh my gosh, and he's coming over, and I know he's a minimalist.
I'm trying to
and
be
I have
minimal.
a ton of shit in my house.
I'm on the Con Marie path. If anybody doesn't know, like Marie Kondo, I have a certified. I don't even know what she calls herself, and we've been trying to minimize, get rid of stuff, right? You like throw stuff out, right? Because you don't need all. Because I needed all that stuff. I need it. But I can understand like why you would think that, because you're like worried about what I think.
Yeah, I'm worried about what Benny thinks.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, Benny's going to come over. He's going to be judging my house and judging. And then when I can take a step back, I'm like, okay, just because that's, you know, your judge of yourself and your judge of others, you know, I know if I went to your home, I wouldn't be judging you, but like I may have to curb my judge and reflect it back on myself. So it's been this
Well, that's
really
because you're
weird,
super aware though.
Yeah,
Most
like
people
I'm
aren't that aware.
hyper
Most people
aware
aren't that aware.
of things.
Do you know the only thing I judged? Can I tell you the only thing I've judged so far since
Sure.
I've been here? Me and Jorge were pulling into the neighborhood, and I was like, you know, and I don't come to Arizona that much. I'm like, I'm glad she didn't tell me she was the tan house with the tan roof with the tan yard. Because every single house is like got the same roof color, wall color, the yard color. Like it's literally all this like just neutral beige.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes.
The whole neighborhood. I'm like, whose freaking bright idea was that? Why do they do that here? Like
It's all these track homes that are like just
that's
cookie cutter.
That's what he said. He's like, home builder
Yeah.
to save a bunch of money. They got a bulk deal on Sherwin-Williams paint. And like it was incredible. I was like, holy cow! He's like, how does anybody stand out? Like, how does where's the uniqueness at? I guess it's all inside the home, because when I came in your home, oh boy, there's a stark contrast from the plain outside that you didn't have any control over to there's animals on the wall. There's like cool objects. I don't even know how to describe them. Maybe you can help me. Your office room's got like a cool sign, and like it's got a lot of color. Yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, like and you got Topo Chico in the fridge. I mean,
That's
cheers
right.
to
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
Topo Chico.
But you were worried for 30 days.
I was worried.
How much energy did that really, do you think?
Oh
like,
my God,
was it a
so
lot?
much.
Really?
And energy of others, because I looped Jacob into it.
Oh, yeah.
He's
You
had
made-
to
you made him-
fucking
you
hear
made-
about
you-
it.
You made him stay here to like, you know.
He's staying here to be like our guy for the day, to make sure we have tacos literally waiting inside for us
to make
right
sure
now.
Jorge doesn't like, you know, put you in the back of a van and take you to Mexico. I'm just saying. Check out Jorge's episode. I can't remember what number it is, but he's way back in the early days. He's got an incredible story of how him and his mom smuggled him over the border when he was like 3 years old. It is one of my favorite stories of all time. Thank you for that, Jorge. That was a commercial for your show. Yeah, no problem.
Plug for Jorge.
All right, so we got to wrap this show up because our tacos are here.
Tacos are here.
I've got lots of other podcasts I'm shooting. You're coming to my meetup tonight, so I'm super excited. You're going to get to meet some of my other friends in the area.
I can't wait.
So hopefully that way you guys can build connections in the future. You're coming to the workshop, the Contractor Dynamics workshop, because you love marketing. And guess what? There's going to be a bunch of needy visionaries there. They don't even know they're visionaries, most of these contractors, but they are. And they need a lot of help. And so I'm glad that you're going to be there, because when I talk about EOS and I talk about that visionary integrator, because that was really what saved me. And that's what led me onto my healing journey. I would have never had the space to heal had I not found EOS. I firmly believe that everything happens for a reason. And remember John, who I led the show off with, COO John, MBA John. I had to go through that pain to find EOS and find the book Rocket Fuel, to then hire the integrator, my full-time integrator, my partner, Rob, to then be able to create space, right? My brother, unfortunately, passed away, and it shook me into shape to say, man, I need to live more on fire for like God. I need to be more on fire for purpose. I need to tell people about drug addiction and how like it can affect your life, and about how like we're good people too, and like there's I watched a clip the other day by the Jelly Roll guy. Like, who's Jelly Roll? He said he was like testifying in Congress. He said 190 people die of a fentanyl overdose every day.
Oh wow.
That's the same amount of people like of a private or of a plane going down.
Yeah.
Like a Southwest flight. Think about that. Think
Oh,
about
it's
if a
wild.
Southwest flight crashed every day.
That's
People would be
funny.
going bananas.
Yeah.
But
Well,
190 people die of a drug overdose every day. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like I'm on a mission to kind of help. And in the home improvement industry, there's just a ton of us that have like struggled with lots of things. It's kind of why we get left in home improvement, because nobody really wants to do it. It's not like a doctor or a lawyer job, even though we make a lot more money than doctors and lawyers. That's the interesting part about the whole thing. So when you deal with home improvement, have you ever dealt with like a service-based contractor before and had to like integrate them? Oh, we crazy, girl.
You're fun.
So you're gonna have fun.
Fun.
So
Oh, I can't wait.
yeah, it's going to be awesome. So thank you for being here. Is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap it up? We got like 5 minutes left. So anything that's on your heart that you want to share? Anything I didn't ask you that you wish I would have asked you?
I don't know. We talked about my Nourish to Flourish stuff. I'm like really pumped on that right now.
Can people help you with that mission?
100%.
How do they help you?
So we need to talk about it. Email me, reach out. I'd love to chat and hear what other people have done to bring their team members or their people on the journey with them. I think as visionaries, we go do a lot of masterminds, right? Or conferences or talks, or like we go get exposed to all of that, all that development. And then what happens is when you bring it back to your team, visionaries aren't the best with like bringing it back. Like they drop it and they're so excited.
Yeah.
And then like,
you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that.
Yeah.
And these integrators are like, bro, I got like 90 things to do. And like, I'm drowning over here. And because you left, like I got to do more work. And
right.
Yeah.
So then it creates a conflict, right? Because it's like, well, you want this for them, but then you're always told no. So then now maybe you're not sharing as much, or now you're selective on what you're sharing. And now a person who you're not clearly communicating your experience, right? It's like a telephoned experience. Like we all just had these amazing experiences at EOS. Now go to try to tell somebody about that. Like it just doesn't compute.
You just got to invite them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like church. You just got to invite them.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, I feel like one of my gifts is because I understand integrator and visionary both so well, I would say I believe I do, that I knew how to bring back a lot of the things I was learning in a digestible manner for my team to actually create and impact the change that I wanted to see in affecting and caring for their lives. I think as business owners, and I've had the terrible HR lady in the past that says things like, you leave home at home and work is work, and like you need to change your attitude when you get, like if you had something bad happen, like you smile when you get to work. And we're all people, and I think COVID gave us all a lot of grace in realizing like we're all dealing with shit all the time, and we need to insert a little bit more love, and love not be a 4-letter word that's inappropriate at work. I tell everyone on my team I love them. Mm-hmm. I love my friends. I love people I work with, and I think that's okay. And that's my job as a visionary is, yes, I have vision for the company and where we're going and strategy and all of those things of like how we're going to grow, how we're going to do it. But at the same time, like there are people involved here, and how are we pouring in that way, to go and grow. And I loved what you said earlier about, people coming in and out of your life at the right times, or you making those choices. I was always afraid of that, right? Of people leaving or leaving me, and being okay with that now. I think that's like my last final big aha was like realizing that we're all on a journey. Things are going to come, they're going to go, they're going to change. It doesn't mean that I've done anything wrong or that I'm bad or any of those things. We can reflect on what worked and what didn't work for a minute and then move on. But I think that's really important. So yeah, I love what you're saying about like how can people support this journey. I'd love to talk about it. I'd love if people have great coaches out there or speakers or people that have great books, great things that have been an influence in your life, so that we can help other visionaries get through things with a little bit more ease. I always hear visionaries and people talk about these great failures that they've had. And I see it as, well, if I'm always learning something from everything along the way and being intentional, then I'm not having these giant pitfall, mistakes and failures where everything's imploding and so terrible. I'm also not a big risk taker. But I think we can help people get through life and business and their journey with a little bit more ease. Because when I was going through all my shit the past 6 months, I didn't want to tell anybody. I was terrified that I would come to EOS conference and people know that people left. Like, oh my God, they're going to judge me. I must be a terrible place. I must be a terrible person. No one wants to work for me anymore. I mean, I've gone through like probably 20 assistants in the past couple years. That's not easy to be my assistant for sure. But
Wow.
I think a lot of us are afraid to share our journeys. We're afraid to be vulnerable, and we think we're going through it alone. And meanwhile, everyone else that's out there that's doing this shit has gone through it or is going through it or is going to, and you can help at any stage, whether now you've gone through stuff and you get to give me advice, right? And that's you giving back to me. And I can now do that for someone else on their journey, and we're all at different stages, and it's being able to open up, just like Justin Mouse talked about at EOS conference in his keynote. It's like we're hitting that ceiling, but then we don't talk about it. We're afraid to share. Not that now I'm going to go scream it from the mountaintops, but I have trusted friends and advisors, and Richard, who has his faith, and my friend Chaz, who does, and I can call my buddy Benny now, and I can call my buddy Coach Bob anytime, who sends me lovely voice notes and wants to pour into me. My good buddy Rufus, who wants to just be there to support me along the way and teach me from his learnings. I mean, ironically, these are all names and people that were in my Visionary Forum group. I believe that finding Visionary Forum also helped save me and help me on my journey tremendously. I could not thank Coach Bob and Cheryl enough for everything that they've done with Visionary Forum.
If you're listening to this and you believe that you're a visionary, first I recommend you read the book Rocket Fuel to see if you identify as a visionary. And if you do, and you want to be supported by a group of like-minded individuals who meet up like twice a month on Zoom calls, and then we also get together for these retreats like 2 or 3 times a year. Look into the Visionary Forum. Coach Bob runs a great little mastermind for visionaries. And then he has the retreats. They're called the Summit. But Jamie, thanks so much for being here. I believe that you gave people a lot of value, a lot of things to think about today as they experience some painful moments in their life. You're a light to the world. And
thank you.
Yeah, it's really incredible to be here. And it's a light in Arizona too. So I feel like I would be more of a light if I lived in Arizona. This is awesome. If you got value out of this podcast, like, subscribe, comment, get your questions over to Jamie. I'll make sure she sees them. Until then, we'll see you guys on another edition of the Big Fish Cares podcast.